Hi, I'm Kaz, and I'd just like to explain to you why I'm standing as a local councillor for the Evendons Borough in Wokingham. I've been a resident of Wokingham for 16 years, and in Berkshire pretty much my whole life. I moved here when I was 2.5 from Stanwell Moor. So yes, ignore the name. Yes, it is a Polish name, but I was born and bred here. Not that that should particularly matter. I'm a local taxpayer. I work in Wokingham as a audio-visual designer. Thus, this kind of stuff is quite easy for me to get my hands on. And now, basically, I got involved in Wokingham Borough antics, as it were, in 2012 when I was approached by the Green Party, who I was paying money to at the time, to become asking me to become a paper candidate. Now, a paper candidate, I didn't really know what it meant at the time, but it means don't do anything. We're just trying to find out how many people in the local area will vote Green for a local election. This is a local election. There's no national control over this. But how many people will vote Green at a local level, regardless of the person who's standing, and that person is intended to do nothing. Now, I didn't realise this at the time, so when I went door to door asking people what's going on, I found out, this is in mid-2012, I found out that we have 2,500 houses going on the farmland to the rear. Also, knowing twice in my life, in my recent history, Wokingham Tesco roundabout had been flooded, and that those were the floodplains, and people have been blaming the floodplain development for that. And then they're the floodplains, we're going to build on those too, and the road's going to come out onto that floodplain. You're joking, aren't you? And then as I went down some more doors, I found out there was been some kind of compulsory purchase of the stables behind. I found out that then I found out about the Elms Field, or the Woking regeneration, and then found out there was going to be houses on Elms Field. I was like, what? What was all this? Because in 2007 it had all been pushed through, and then they said, no, we're not going to do it anymore. Yay, thank gosh for that, they're not going to do it. But then they're doing it again. Not only are they doing it again, but they started doing something in 2009. They started changing the legal, 2009, they changed the legal ownership of the rights of Elms Field. In 2009, it's 2 years after 2007, they did all that, but they didn't consult on that. Were you asked? Nobody knows about it. Nobody knew about it. We have a load of people, councillors, who often present councillors today, who voted on it to make that change, and they didn't ask you. All part of their background actions to make things move forward. There's all about consultation, but I was like, well, I didn't know about it. So when I asked about it and went to this consultation in August 2012, or was it July, they did that big presentation on Elmsfield, and then we could see what they were planning, and I was amazed, that the press coming out of it was suggesting, the Working Times was suggesting that people were quite impressed, or, there's a big poster showing, look, we're going to spend £3 million on our park. £3 million on a park. Let's get the community in, honestly. 3 million. Where's that 3 million going to come from as well? All the developers are giving it to us. No, they're not giving it to us. It's built into the price. It's built in. So, so I went to that presentation, and it talked about all this consultation that I hadn't been involved in. So I started looking into this consultation that I hadn't been involved in. And apparently there was a letter in 2011, and I'm just going to dig that up for you right now. Okay, so here we have the letter. I'll read it out to you in case you can't read from there. Dear Occupier, Woking Town Centre Redevelopment Public Exhibition. As you will be aware, Woking Borough Council have selected Wilson Bowden as preferred development partner. I'd love to see, of course we won't get to find out why they're preferred development partner. We won't get to find out whether or not there could be money moving all over the shop, basically. There's secret money offshore, there's jobs for nephews and whatnot. There's no way of tracing money, but we don't get to see the contract, and we can't compare contracts. The contracts are so complicated, you can't work out, without a breakdown of costs, whether or not something is good value or not. Because really, unless you get the breakdown of costs, you can then start to say, okay, right, we're paying an awful lot of consultancy here, and that building work is incredibly, is reasonably priced. Or, okay, get rid of consultancy is reasonably priced. What the hell are we paying that much for construction for? Now, unless you get this breakdown of costs on construction, you can't work out where we're being done, because lots and lots of paperwork is what keeps the competitive bidders out. That's part of the strategy. Anyway, I'll carry on reading. Wilson Bowden as preferred development partner to take part forward the master plan for the regeneration of Woking Town Centre. Through a development which respects the historic architectural heritage of Woking, the redevelopment will support existing and new businesses, increasing employment, securing ongoing investment in the town centre, and improving the quality of open space within the town centre. The development proposal, which will produce in line with the adopted Wokingham Town Centre Master Plan, which was consulted on last year. So apparently in 2010 there was a master plan. Now I'll dig that up in a minute, but basically it was 50 councillors and about 2 residents. I wasn't invited, none was of my neighbours. I didn't even know about it, never saw about it. For some reason, how it does start appearing on the website on the internet, you do find these things buried in PDFs eventually when you get sent how to find them by people who are active members of the council. But the average Joe was not involved in that 2010 consultation, and the thing that was supposed to actually get me involved, this letter, which is the first letter anyone was supposed to receive. As part of the process, development team will be displaying the proposals of the design of the town centre in a public exhibition in July 2011. The exhibition will be held in Unit 4, Peach Street, the following dates. Thursday the 7th, between 12 and 7 p.m. Friday the 8th, 10 and 4 p.m. And Saturday the 9th, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. So let's just put this into context. Either you turn up on Thursday after work at, well, let's say you get back at 6. You've got an hour on Thursday, on the 7th. And just to check when this letter came out, this letter was sent on the 22nd of June. So you've got 2 weeks. Okay, then you've got the next day, 10 till 4, not going to happen, it's Friday, 10 till 4, who's going to go if they're working? So yeah, you might have a few people with their kids turning up. Are they going to turn up with their kids to this exhibition? I don't know. And then Saturday, July the 9th, and then members of the team will. So you've got this 3-day window to see, there's nothing here about development at Elmsfield. This is my point here. If you're honest, okay, they know already, they're not stupid. I don't think the Conservatives are stupid, not by a long shot. They knew already that when you found out that half of the green space is going to be zapped and the houses all crammed into that middle when we already have school problems, they knew that there was going to be a hoo-ha about this. They sent out a letter that said nothing about, we need to do this, what do you think, get involved, at that point before the contract was signed. Basically, they signed the contract in 2012 before people really had a chance to say, what? You're going to build on all that? They signed before the consultation. Now, the actual consultation, the documentation, there's a spreadsheet, and I'm going to dig that up now. Right, first thing I want to dig up here now is the questions that were in the questionnaire that they did note of. So, question 1. Do you think the scheme responds effectively to Wokingham's character as a market town with a small retail unit and a well-managed public realm? Well, I don't like the scheme, but yeah, maybe. I might say no because I think they're doing too much development on Elmsfield. Peach Place, what elements of the scheme do you support? Well, I wanted to update the 1960s building. Got ya! Everybody said that. Absolutely everybody said those next 1980s buildings rubbish. Okay. Peach Place, what elements of the scheme do you think could be improved? The 1960s building. Okay, good. Elmsfield, what elements of the scheme do you support? Now, if you look down the actual spreadsheet, there's a support for like doing nicer things with it, looking after it, but generally everyone's saying, yeah, get no supermarket, no great big development on there, please. Most of the people. And then when we look at the data, you'll see there's a bit of dodgy data where you've got lots of kind of different comments against. Then you've got a rack of very short, very similar statements, like they've been filled in by somebody mostly filling in, probably the person at the actual event who's paid to make it happen. Remember, the people are paid from Wilson Belden. It's about getting it through. In fact, there's one of the characters in one of the articles we saw, their actual thing is getting through things that the public don't like. So, but there's 2 ways of getting things through. There's convincing the public, which is trying, and there's lying. And the big lie they're telling you at the moment is that you are in the minority if you disagree. Because the spreadsheet makes it pretty clear that all the kind of genuine answers, or a lot of the genuine answers were against. And then you've got these collections of very short, very weird kind of computery, someone's typed them in answers. Again, we'll dig that up in a minute. Okay. Question 6. What level of diversity would you like to see in the street scene? A breakup of buildings into different parts. B, a number of slightly different blocks using a variety of materials. And C, splitting the street into a number of blocks, same design. Now, assuming that the majority of us went for one of those, and they went for the one the majority of us went for, then they've got most of the people in favour of an aspect on that regard. So they can correlate that with the number of people who said don't like the 1960s buildings. Let's give them a facelift. And there's ways to do a facelift. You know, they do it in Disney all the time. Just build a structure. What goes on the front? Could be beautiful with bits of wooden beams. Let's keep with that really old wooden beam look. And you can add wooden beams without them being structural. Anyway, I digress. Question 7. The proposals for the park include a number of spaces: open grasses, event space, play area, fountains, orchard area. Do you agree with it? Yes. Yes, I do. What do you think should be included in the play area? Well, that tiny little play area, I've had a few ideas that I've seen today. But, so people put some things. What type of seating would you like to see in the park and where? Okay. So does that count? Because they say, well, we're going to add seats and everybody likes to see seats. Is that almost 100%? Do you have any other suggestions? Now, these are the questions that could have been on there. What's lacking? Another supermarket, yes or no? 60% reduction of Elmsfield, yes or no? What proportion of the people who you ask around you would accept a no? 160 dwellings? Extra in the middle of town? School problems? No, okay, good, you said no. Contracts without truly independent scrutiny? No breakdown of costs? Anything like that? Do you think you're okay to just say, okay, right, you guys, you go and talk to those guys, then you force everything on us and we don't even get to see how much we're spending on it? Would you say yes to that? No. In fact, I did a door-to-door, I did a street survey on that and everybody said no to that. People say, yeah, fine, do it. What about the scrutiny? No. You can't just go and spend money willy-nilly unless we've said yes, generally. People are generally against it. You've got to show up. You've got to do a breakdown of cost. We're starting to get there. We're starting to get a breakdown of cost. Remember, it was originally 100 million. It's now 95 million. I don't know whether I'm going to take any credit for that £5 million saving. But as we start watching, the figures start crawling down. That makes me wonder about the person who negotiated in the first place. Anyway, here's a little quote from Alistair Corey after that epic. We put together the Elmsfield event 2012 because we wanted to understand the support and what people think. Then why don't ask them? Why didn't you ask them those few really obvious questions that would make them think? We understand 12,000 people attended that and 3.9% of the Wokingham population. They call that significant. Fine, whatever you call significant. I think from what I've seen now of local borough activity, 12,000 is very significant. It's not as significant as the number of people who came up and said, stop it, 17,000. That was a significant number. But they call that significant. We felt there was reasonable support for what we were doing. Well, you didn't ask any questions that asked if there's any support for what you're doing. So how can you get that? If there was really a lack of support out there, we would hear about it. Well, we've all been screaming about it. So I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, it's more probable that the person who is head of regeneration and driving something forward, and there is a £100 million contract going to somebody that is completely blind and we have no down breakdown of costs. There's a reason that these people say, it's great, let's do it, come on everybody, yeah! Or as Mark Asher would say, everybody on board, all on the board. Oh, crying out loud. Right, let's carry on. All aboard. No, my arse. Right, that's 100 million. So, at some point I'm going to find the quote like that, but basically as they came down with a figure of 83% in favour from that questionnaire having, and this is in favour overall, they really touted 87 to 83% in favour, and people were, oh, it must be just me, and I'm a big fan of democracy, it's just me, it's my problem, off you go. People want to change Wokingham into a shopping centre, then I didn't move to a shopping town centre. I wanted a historic market town. I love it. Got the good pace, getting a bit quick. They want to ramp it up. But if everybody wants it ramped up, it's my job to leave. But it's not the people who live here who want to ramp it up. It's their job to leave. Right, now, let's see if I can find this spreadsheet. By the way, all these links will be available to you on the Kaz4Wokingham. Well, this is a Wokingham voice, a bit of a conflict of interest here, you might say, because of course I'm trying to do a local media thing and I'm putting myself on there. But I am more than willing to put somebody else on Wokingham voice. So anyone else wants to come up and have a chat with me and say whether or not, actually, no, you are transparent, do it. Do it. And or you can have a little chat on your own, and you can put comments. I'm leaving this open. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, put your comments below. So anyway, found the spreadsheet. If you look, I'm going to make this nice and chunky for you over here. Pretty much, no one's saying they do. Mostly people are saying either nothing or none, as it effectively replaced the current character of the town. Feel the character would be changed more like Bracknell, need green space. So here I am at the moment getting pretty much nothing but negative I strongly believe we need to restrain buildings of character, So, okay, yes, and then we've got things like, so these are like the answers coming on. And as we come down, we get things like, yes, very welcome, yes, all, none. So anything with a yes, look at this, look at this yes. Yes, all, none. So one, they seem to be in a minority, these yeses. Let's get down here a bit more, see if we can find one of these stashes of them that I was talking about earlier. I think, yes, more retail, all ensure parking is well thought through, housing requirement area. Yes, at last let's get on with it. Well, it's probably Mark Ashwell. Ensure no loss of parking. So parking, it's 2 in a row, 52 and 53 on this spreadsheet, which I'll put the link now, or in the comment box on here, you'll find a link to the spreadsheet. Look at 52, 53, 51. So yeah, there's 3 in a row there. It's just kind of, it's just like this, who wrote this? They're the same person, you know, it's the same comments in the same number of words. All of the positive comments are kind of, you know, you don't get that kind of same word, same place. Look at this here, 63, 64, yes, all, keep increasing. So they're giving themselves, their statistics are load questions in the first place. Then they gave themselves 83%, assuming that people agreed with one aspect. Now, I'm surprised actually. I thought there would be 100% of people agreed with something, but there are 13% of people who are just so obnoxious they won't even say, "All right, fair dues. You know, I hate you. You're a big hairy monster, but you do have hair." You know, they'll just say no to everything that you don't have hair. And so this is one of those examples. You've got a few people who are stubborn. 13% of people, 17% of people were so stubborn and said, "You know what? Everything you said is rubbish about the whole regeneration," which I don't agree with at all. I think there are a few things to be done, but one thing that didn't happen, I believe, is that there was a consultation. This was a £100 million figure that a team of boys got together and invented and then got on with. Now, consultation, I found another document. I'm just going to come back away from here in a moment. Hang on. Okay. Wokingham Town Centre Master Plan Consultation Event, September 2009. You'll remember that, don't you? Yeah. Oh no, we didn't get invited. We weren't even told about it. There was no posters around town. Didn't get any letters. But okay, fine. There was something. A consultation event. Let's see who's at this consultation event. Oh, nice picture there. More stuff. Picture. Introduction. So. Wokingham Borough Council has started to prepare a master plan for Wokingham Town Centre, which will be adopted as a supplementary planning guidance of the previous consultation. Consultation has already taken place on both the town centre and master plan elements. One of the key were you consulted? Who was this consultation with? I know one person who went on that consultation, who is a resident, a regular, everyday resident, and he said that what they came up with was nothing like this. And then people running the event were trying to say, well, just for the sake of seeing what ideas they could be, put something on Elmshill. They actually tell people, okay, we'll do that, but just so that we've got a whole broad spectrum to have people say yes and no to things, do something on Elmshill. They then did something smaller on Elmshill, and then they turned it into something massive. I'm hoping that friend of mine is willing to be named and shamed, but just in case, I'm not going to say them. But now let's look at our list of people. So we've got a whole load. So you've got Wolfson, Belgium, Zerber, urban practitioners, Borough Council, Wokingham Town Council, Borough Council Residents Associations. We've got Sucre with the Residents Association. So basically, Borough Council, everyone. Is there anyone here who was just a member of the public? I don't know. Councillor Mrs. Sununa Turtle Wokingham without PC, so she hasn't got a computer either. No, in fact, I can't. Surely my friend's on this list, aren't I? No, that's the attendance list of the consultation. Was no one member of the public. Now I know I can identify some problem that I've noticed with the council and dealing with people members of the public is that everyone's so busy. You've got mum working, dad working, children going to after school, rushing around, But we kind of trust our council to do a regeneration. You know, what we thought we were going to get a lick of paint. That honestly, how long have you not painted the front of that Boots building? I was about to get a letter out myself. It only cost 30 quid. What do we then go and spend? It was 3 million, then it got turned to 2 million, and now it's become 1.6 million. Does it come down because we start paying attention and asking you how much things cost? That's why we need to see the contracts first. So if you do a dodgy contract, then the other one's available. We can go, oh, hang on, you've renegotiated on the fly down. This is really cronyism. But it might not be. I might be wrong. But we can't accept that. We can't have it so that you can just invent hidden levels of contracts. Local guys will be going, 3 million to put a face on that wall and like remove 3 walls around and put 7 kitchens in. 3 million, 7 flats. Hear this out. 3 million to redevelop 7 flats. Not building them. This is kind of sorting out the inside, do the outside wall. Probably pretty much doing as much as building on that level there. But 3 million construction on land we own. It's pretty special. It was 3 million, got down to 1.6 million. Not so bad anymore. It's not pretty bad. I would like to see a flat constructed in the region of about £100,000. So I'm looking at about £700,000 plus the pretty wall at the front, another 100,000. So 800,000. So we're still £800,000 adrift on what should have been spent doing that work. And God knows what we spent buying it off people and whether or not those people were friends and family. Anyway, there's an awful lot of funny numbers being batted around, and let's have a look at one of those characters and more dishonesty on the way. Now, you've all seen there's where they knocked down the Wellington House. It's all been boarded off for ages. Wokingham, future, lovely, blah blah blah. Have you seen on the Elms area where they're going to build a food store, and they're going to build a car park underneath? There's a poster. There's a blood poster of not what's going to go there. The poster is of a open green space with children playing on a sunny day and fountains and... Okay, I accept we're going to put the best day. But you put a poster in a kind of V-shaped open space, showing the same V-shaped open space with like a fountain and stuff going on. But it's not the same V-shaped open space. The same V-shaped open space is another 100 yards that way. What they've done is they've created the illusion that that green space is going to be changed because only 3% of people turn up to these damn events. It's incredible how little people know. That's why the posters are so important. That's why posters about consultation are so important. That's why doing a random survey first is very important. And random means popping a little pin around on addresses, maybe weight it according to where the area is, and asking those individuals to give you some feedback. Incentivise them. Ask 10, 30, 100, and then compare whether the random selection is tying in with the activists like myself or the people who've got money behind it. But what we're finding unusual here, I think, with the Elmfield one is that most people who've paid attention to it are sort of become activists about it. They're not happy. But then we're getting the dishonesty. We're getting posters everywhere showing not what's being done, not the main event. The main event, people love Elmsfield. Round, lovely. You don't have to keep spending money making things a bit prettier. That's what's wrong with the planet. We can't constantly knock everything down and build it up again until we run out of oil. The Elmsfield bit that's going to be built on has a poster, right, facing on the roundabout. People drive up the road and wow, look, Wokingham's going to build this beautiful thing. No, they're not. They're going to go and destruct this open space here, and they're going to make something manufactured where we had an open space and a bit of manufacture before. Carry on walking around. There's another poster where the car park entrance would probably be of the same thing. Basically, it all goes round, all facing in. As you walk round that area, you see 4 posters. Now, I don't know what we spent on those posters. Anyone else want to do a Freedom of Information request and find out? Because I do plenty of Freedom of Information requests and they're not normally forthcoming in the right way as you might expect. So you choose a random contract and say, can I have the details of the contract? You're not going to get what we're paying for what automatically at Wokingham Borough Council, which is what the whole Localism Act is supposed to be about. Jobs to the boys. Because remember, we have had 30 years of the same groups of people all intermeshing, and that's what my basically reason for getting involved in politics is. I've come to the conclusion, and I hope some of you have, that don't trust politicians. I think they might be working for vested interests, albeit a mutual interest. I'm a councillor here. Your brother-in-law buys a farm over here. I'll help him get planning permission. My brother-in-law buys a farm in your land. It's all completely untraceable. And then we'll live. That might be a risk. Now, I'm not going to tarnish everyone with the same brush. I reckon most of the people will come to your door and knock on your door saying vote Conservative, they're lovely people, and they don't realise who it is that they are representing. When I was a member of the Green Party, I saw emails coming out saying, come on, we're all going to go to Oxford here and we're going to stand for this lady. We're going to go and tell her, knocking on people's doors, telling them to vote for someone. And but I don't know them. For all I know, they could have money in wind turbines, or they could actually just be another developer trying to get yes votes in there to say the right things but not achieve anything. Sabotage, divide and conquer. So I ask people to make smart promises. In the old days, it's called no cheap promises. Now it's just smart voter, because I'm finding that no one in politics seems to want to say, you know what, I'm just going to do a list. I'm not going to give the marketing balls. I'm not going to give all that rubbish. I'm just going to say, here is my smart list of things that I will promise to do. And if I don't do them, you get your vote back. I stand down for a by-election. I don't think that is a particularly unreasonable thing to ask for. Why is it unreasonable? I mean, you're not asking someone, let's say, for example, you went to buy an ice cream from an ice cream van, and you said, okay, right, I want you to fill in this 10-page document to sell me that ice cream. That would be a bit much. You know what you're getting. But at the same time, if you put that ice cream in your mouth and it tasted bad and it had no sugar in it, you could say, that's bad. And you would probably find that you get your money back. But you might, or you'd have your right to if you decided to kick it, but you'd have your right to your money back. So you don't have to do a CE mark for an ice cream, but let's change that up. Let's buy this mouse. Now, this mouse will come in a box with a massive piece of paper telling you exactly what it's made of, what's inside it, what it's going to do. And with that piece of paper, I have a right to, within 1 year, if it doesn't even work within 1 year, but if it isn't actually as specified on the picture on the front, I can get my money back. Now we're talking about a team of 53 individuals who oversee what is allowed to be filmed, what is allowed to not can't be filmed, who's going to run the council, who's going to be able to scrutinise what is being spent here, where and everywhere. And there's a massive team of people going door to door, knocking on your door, saying, we are not willing to give you a clear list of promises. Now, I've come up with promises that are basically based on transparency. Wokingham Borough Council, every Wokingham Borough Councillor has a code of conduct that means that they must support transparency unless it is clearly in the public interest not to do so. Now, I can't think of an example like that, and I've never managed to get one of them to think of an example like that. However, I can respect that if collectively, let's say there was an alien invasion, and it really did mean that people had to not freak out, then they might say, okay, we're gonna stop transparency on that. There's something hideous, and the people have to stay calm while we try and sort it out. If they start freaking out, it's going to cause more trouble. That is the solution. That's that caveat. It's a caveat, probably never to be used unless there is an alien invasion. There is no alien invasion. So we have Guy Garandinson, I can't pronounce his name, sorry Guy, but of course, as you know, and I'm going to mention this, and you're not going to be happy mentioning it, please do comment or come and have a video with me. Ages, okay, arguing. Filming of planning and scrutiny meetings has been, first there was no filming of anything. A year later, and Councillor Baker lied to say that, he was mistaken. You remember, because obviously you threatened to sue me. I've showed you were lying or mistaken and you didn't do anything, please do so. That the first Southern Distributor Road meeting, you blocked it from being filmed. And then you said that nobody would have allowed filming in some other meeting you asked about, but then I asked some people from that meeting and said, nobody really minded. So can't prove that one because I wasn't there. But at the North Distributor meeting, you said if anyone objects, and obviously you didn't have a crony on that one because no one objected. But unfortunately, somebody asked you about it midway, and you said, it's a majority decision, and the guy goes, don't really mind. I was just asking, because I didn't get asked. It's fine. Then at the southern one, the next southern one, what's going on with the southern distributor road? Yes, we're going to build it on the floodplain. We don't want anyone to see anything about it. Anyway, so on the southern distributor road meeting, I've got that sense, oh, you're going to block it. Yeah, you don't get your camera out, Kaz, it's probably not going to happen. And then one person said, they did, because it's blind, it could have been a councillor, it could have been somebody from the development team, said we don't want it filmed. So, and then I said, but it's a majority, so it doesn't count. And he goes, no, it's only one. It was always being one. No, it hasn't. Fortunately for you, it was on film from the previous one because somebody asked you a question. So obviously we had that hoo-ha, and I called you a liar, and you said, I can't be all mistaken. So I can't be mistaken because I make up the rules. So you're a liar. So that was the exchange we had. So anyone who wonders why I had a bit of a beef with Councillor Baker, that's why. Or rather, he will say, oh, I don't know what your beef's from. I've got video, I've got audio to prove the beef, and I've got emails to prove the beef. So let's not pretend there isn't a beef. There was a beef. Councillor Baker did it because he refused to represent you. He broke his councillor code of conduct to stop you from seeing what's going on and having evidence of what's being said at the Southern Wokingham Distributor Road consultations. Now, Kaiser's taken up the role now, Councillor Kaiser, and of course I, from now on, because the council aren't allowed to do that, they shouldn't even be councillors anymore, I ignore them on public land. But on private land, they have the right to say, well, the venue owner has the right to say no. Now, I put a venue owner at Rose Street in a very difficult position because I said, well, I'm going to film to the councillor, and he got the other guy to say, can you tell him not to film? And I said, he has no right to ask me not to film because it's a public meeting in a public venue. There's people that have and I'm not filming the public anyway, but people don't have the right to think they shouldn't be filmed in a public place, especially when it's a public interest meeting. So, funny enough, this went on for a while because the venue owner could have said, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. Straight out. I would respect that. It's his choice. Nothing I could do about it. Councillor Kaiser, who had no right to ask him not to film, then lied to him by saying that I had done something to the website, I had put this on the website. And so there is one web page video from the North Distribution Road where I asked you to ask your councillors about fracking, to ask them to commit to not having to say no to fracking. Now, and I'll show you that shortly. Now, this little annotation, he read 3 times all these things I'd done. It was one thing, the same thing. All I had refused to do was take it down because I think, am I unreasonable in this? Is it unreasonable for you to ask the people who are going to be deciding whether or not you can be fracked to let you know before you vote for them? Now, of course, I'm an independent. I don't have the Tory party, or I don't have the Conservatives and the Lib Dems telling their councils, because they have a national local council policy, do not sign up to not fracking. They do not want to have fracking off the cards like they have in France and some other areas. They want to make sure fracking stays on the cards. Now, the way they got around it, so now they moved the blame onto local councillors, because now I asked the council in an email, they said, I'm not sure, but we think it's the planning committee. Planning committee is 9 people who you've probably never heard of, but they are empowered by the leader of the council. So you're going to you vote for Tories, David Lee appoints the planning committee. Now, do you think it's unreasonable for voters to say, I want to make sure that the planning committee is made up of people who will say no to fracking before I vote for you? I think that's reasonable. There's ways to do that. I've come up with a series, or they don't have to say no, they could say referendum. We have a referendum on fracking. It's not unreasonable to ask. We've got climate problems coming up. We need to put wind turbines and solar panels and water tidal generators all over the shop. And there's an awful lot of money to be paid, lots of work, valuable work, keeping these things serviced, keeping them going. It's a fantastic industry, and it'll be a local industry as well, because they're big, heavy things that get moved around and repaired. Or they can be repaired. We're not going to just bin them and move. The components need to be kept slick and moving and serviced. It's a fantastic industry to move into. It's scalable and understandable as well. So, the fracking, the moment I mentioned fracking, I put the no cheap promises thing up before, but the moment I mentioned fracking, this is the worrying thing for me, the moment I mentioned it, I got an email from the council saying, take it down, it's misleading. So what I said is, well, I'll make sure it's not misleading. I want people to, the reason I shoot these videos is so that I've got a chance to advertise some of the things that they should be concerned about. So people should ask you about fracking. Now, this is the bit where we moved on to the start promise, because if you ask your councillor to come to your door, you've got your Tory, you've got your Lib Dem, what do you think about fracking? Oh, I'm not very keen on it. But it wouldn't happen here anyway. Will be the best answer you'll get, the maximum. They will not emphatically commit to anything. And that is why you get ignored all the time. That is why we should have no... Oh, this is going to make a bit of a noise. You've got to be a smart voter. Now, smart voting is quite simply... It doesn't actually tie in, actually. Smart, S-M-A-R-T, a business term, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, related and time-bound. Now, the way I'm doing my promises aren't quite that, but the concept is the same. You have a commitment to achieve a certain thing in a certain time. Then you might be asking, what can somebody achieve within a certain time? So here you have my my smart voter. I'm still reviewing it because I just found out that we can't do coalitions. I would like the idea. I'm not fussed about being a councillor. I just want to make sure that things that make our current council more transparent happen. I can't really trust the current councils to do it. They might say, oh yes, I'm all for transparency, but it doesn't happen. So I want to put rules in place for people when they vote. And then the idea was being, well, let's not split the popular vote. They could easily get like 10 of people like me to say, yeah, I'm going to promise that, and then just bail out at the last minute. So, but there's no coalition. So you either have to back me, or we have to find someone we trust in some kind of weird and wondrous way. However, right, so, but here's an idea of a promise. So, constitutional change, this would be local constitution, because they say, and the way the smart promises thing works is that ordinarily you don't have to put when you're going to do something. If it's a series of constitutional change, you just do them in order at this rate that we were allowed to do. There might be like one a month or something like that. So, constitutional change, when a motion is brought to the council, it should be voted on as well as amended versions if presented. Should a group decide to present an amended version, the effect and the purpose of the difference from the original must be discussed and agreed. Now, you won't be aware of this particularly, but sometimes we have somebody brings a motion. It might be relatively meaningless, as I'll show you in another video, but that meaningless motion might have some kind of thing in it that some of the opposition don't like, especially with the Tories being the bigger party. So they just say, oh, no, we can do an amendment to that. They'd rather vote against that thing that they don't like, which might have some kind of transparency element to it. They amend the motion to something that doesn't have that in it, then vote in favour of that. They eliminate the need to vote against something they're not allowed to vote against. So I want to get rid of that as a start. And also, where the councillors have been voting against transparency, I have complained about them, and democratic services have refused to act upon it. So the next thing, and they say as a defence that it was done collectively. So the constitutional change that even though the council as a whole make a collective decision to do something that is against the council's own code of conduct, everyone must be treated individually. Half the councillors could be kicked out if they collectively decide to do something that they can't do. Now let's just remember, Eric Pickles, Minister for Councils, says that we should allow filming bloggers to do what they want. And in all meetings, including planning and scrutiny, that's on the list. And we're not doing that. There's no reason to expect them not to have videos like this. Bloggers with little pockets of video from the meetings. Now, if what happens in a blog like this is not representative, then actions can be taken. That's why it's fine for these films to be taken, because you can't abuse it. It's there. If you're going to commit a crime and put it on the video, you're an idiot, especially when the council has enough money to sue you. That's why you're allowed to say things like I'm saying now, because these things have happened. They are risks, and it is unacceptable that the council won't change them.